Hello, I'm Peachy.
Hello, I am Patrick.
Oh, subdued. I liked it.
I've always wanted to do a podcast when I've been a bit ill, so I can have a cooler voice.
Cooler voice.
I just feel so inadequate since Pete came on.
Yeah, well, he has got the best voice.
What do you say? You have to push out your and really project.
Oh yeah. Well, I speak through my lips and sound a bit more like Sly Stallone. Like, yeah, I need to get some dry brush in there.
Yeah, so this might be the only podcast episode where I'm like, I sound cool. But maybe I probably don't.
We're minus a Jeff because it's a Tuesday, and you've come back from France.
I have come back from France. I had a lovely time. Yeah. Filming a friend's wedding. It was good fun. Lots of wine they gave me because they were like, "You're driving," because it's like a 2-day affair, a French wedding.
Is it?
Which was quite cool.
Wow.
So I don't know if they're all 2-day affairs, but they rented this cool chateau.
Chateau.
For a few days, and I think they had a day setting it up, the wedding day, which went on until 4 a.m.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was really quite something. Yeah, me and my partner were just boshing away on the dance floor. This French lady,
were you doing the mashed potatoes?
Yeah. I'm just. It sounded like a bit of a euphemism, that didn't it? Boshing away.
No, I didn't get that, but now you've made it weird.
Yeah.
But do carry on.
I'm sorry, darling. I'm so sorry. So 4 a.m. And then the day afterwards, because I drank a lot of wine. There was loads of free wine. You don't pay for drinks at European weddings, which is fantastic.
Oh.
Because we were like, is it going to be a bar? And we got laughed at. And I'd known a little bit because I've done a few weddings one in France, one in Greece before. But yeah, loads of free wine, free drinks all day. I think I had 5 glasses of champagne or something like that. And it was, and then the morning after, so you finish at 4 and you come back at midday, and they had a hog roast and stuff. And this this French lady came up to me and she was just like, "Thank you so much for dancing with my mum last night. She had so much fun." I turned to my girlfriend and I was like, "I don't remember.
I thought I was dancing with you."
No, but yeah, we had a blast. It was good fun. But I think I'm lots of travelling. Because it wasn't necessarily a restful holiday.
Yeah,
because we drove and got the ferry, and
you technically worked a bit of it as well.
I did. Yeah, I worked quite a lot. It was very sunny as well. So
not nice. Here it weren't. It was sunny a couple of days, and then just boshed it down with. I'm going to say bosh because I like that word now. Boshing it out. No, just chucked it down. There's rain everywhere. It was pretty dull.
Oh.
Spent most of the time indoors.
That's a shame.
Playing Star Wars with a kid, which was great.
I've never eaten more pancakes in my life. Loads of creperies. But yeah, Brittany is kind of like Wales. I was told they share the same tune for the national anthem. They have a shared Celtic heritage.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I think they have quite close ties to Wales, Scotland, Ireland. Not so much England. But I had a lovely time.
Yeah. I mean, it's got the word Britain in it, hasn't it? So it's close as...
Yeah, we should own it.
Probably did, which is why it says Brittany. I don't know. My historical facts on medieval Europe are slim to none.
Yeah. No, and colonialism, bad. That's kind of...
I didn't even know what you said there.
Well, colonialism.
Oh, I thought you said colloquialism.
Colonising the world.
It's of its time, isn't it? So
yeah,
we're more modern nowadays and a bit more aware of, people have feelings.
Yes.
Just because you have a flag doesn't mean you're in the country.
Oh, that's it. Eddie Izzard, isn't it?
Do you have a flag?
Well, I have a flag. It's no flag, no country. It's a rule I'm enforcing with this gun.
I used to watch his sketches all the time. Really, really good.
I made. I watched loads of people remade Eddie Izzard sketches out of Lego.
Oh, okay.
So there's the Star Wars canteen is made out of Lego.
Yeah,
and going to a petrol station at midnight and asking for a Twix. And one, I don't even know the sketch, but it just finishes with bread for my bread gun, which I think might be the petrol station one.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway,
Warhammer. Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk a fair bit about Warhammer, but we're going to talk a little bit about, and it may be a surprise to a few people. Some people may not be aware of this, but the Sugs has gone rogue.
A sort of plug.
Well done. Good for you, Sugs. Super pleased for you. She's doing really well. The first video's gone up. A bit of lore about Rainbow Warriors, which was interesting because there's a lot of info there I didn't know about. So
because
a bit of a
I knew
listen.
that Sugs had painted a lot of Rainbow Warriors.
She's a fan of Rainbow Warriors. Or Death Strikes, as they might be. In fact, she clarifies that as a separate chapter.
That were inspired by.
No, if you watch it all the way through,
I had.
You've obviously it's gone in and gone out.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, Sugs.
It makes out that at least from
the
the
Rainbow
stuff
Warriors had been killed,
wiped out, possibly by Ultramarines, and
yes.
the Death Striker there, like brother chapter, maybe.
Yeah, that are like, we remember them because they were killed and we don't like it.
That's why we don't like Ultramarines. And she slates Ultramarines in that. Sorry, Maris. I have to keep apologising to Maris because one of our patrons, big fan of Ultramarines.
Is Ultramarine hate like so prevalent that it's just a bit boring now?
I think so.
Because it was cool. It was cool to hate Ultramarines.
I've always hated them, and I always will. I don't actually hate them that much at all. I just
play into it.
Yeah, I play into it. But it's something I've got friends that are Ultramarine players, so I like to.
Yeah.
Annoy them. I mean, they say stuff about my Sister of the Battle. They say stuff about my Ventrilian Nobles.
Yeah.
So, it's only fair I should throw back.
Fair enough. I remember
you know who you are.
Painting at my desk back in day. And someone was like, oh, you're doing... He was quite like a high up-ish manager. And he was like, oh, you're doing some hobby, what are you painting? Because it was like lunch break. And I was like, oh, well, like, I don't know if anyone knows, but you start working at Games Workshop and they send you a box of stuff. You get like a starter set and a dreadnought.
Yeah.
And I was just having a go at painting some bits and bobs, and it was like, oh, what are you painting them as? I was like, oh, well, it's like some of the first models that I've ever painted, so I'm just copying the box out and going for some Ultramarines. And he went, oh.
Was that Andy? Was that Andy? Yeah. He doesn't like Ultramarines. He's a flesh tearer.
I know. Who was it? Well, I'll beep it. Adam Trogue.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. He's Dark Angels. You don't have to beep it. He likes Dark Angels. He likes chaos. He's a fan of chaos. So, one of my favourite things about when anyone ever turns up to workshop as a staff member, it always makes me laugh because it's a trend that's continued since I first started in the studio, which is. You're in the studio, they usually have a recycle bin for plastic, sprue bin.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you get like your hyenas and vultures that like pick clean the sprues.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't necessarily mind that if they're making use of them. Some of them just don't make use of them, they just hog them for years and then never do anything with them. And then there's others like myself that like to take off a few like pouches, backpacks, heads, knives. Oh, I really need a left hand that's open. That sprue's got a left hand that's open, I'll snap that off. So there's a few that like get bits they need for their projects. But what you do inevitably is in these sprue bins and like through projects you accrue sprues and bits and models, and sometimes you have half started projects, you have all sorts. Then someone new starts, you're like, haha, I can unload all my crap now onto this new person.
I got that.
Every time it's like spring cleaning. And one of the things one of my old managers was like, have you just given such and such a whole load of new stuff? Yes. So you've moved your crap to another desk? Yes. Can you take it home by the end of the day, please? Because I don't want that crap still hanging around in the office. Okay.
That's so funny.
But I
offload it. Yeah, I was given loads of sprues. Yeah, they were like, what do you want to play? And I was like, I don't know, Space Marines are cool, and maybe some Death Guard, and was given like a lot. Like you were tripping over like Indomitus boxes.
Yeah. Oh yes, of course.
Like years afterwards.
Yeah. They were hard to come by for a time, and then suddenly.
There was tons
of them. Just throwing them at people.
Not as bad as Dominion boxes.
No,
those were everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd go to the toilet and you'd have to like work through.
They were propping the toilets
work
up.
through a maze. But is it going to be New Age of Sigmar next year?
I don't know.
Is that on a 3-year cycle as well?
It happens so often nowadays. I can't even. It used to be about 4 or 5 years before a new codex. New game system was released. So like 40k would be released 2 years into 40k being released. You'd be working on like Warhammer. And then when Warhammer was released 2 years into that, you'd be working on 40k. So there was always like a couple of years. And it might still be the same. It just, time goes faster now when you're older.
Distracted. Sugs.
No, we will go back to Sugs. We will go back to Sugs. But yeah, there was a guy I remember who used to sit next to me in the studio. And in the recycle bins, sometimes, because the miniature department. It was the design studio at one point, so it was miniatures, hobby products, graphic design, art, hobby painters, everything. They're all in the same studio now. It's all like fragmenting all over the place, which sometimes works. I don't necessarily think it's the best of moves because everything's quite fragmented.
Yeah.
So everyone's got their own little satellite nations.
Yes, yeah, but, and no one talks to each other.
Yeah, that's that. Back in the day, it was a bit. I said it, darling. I said back in the day. I'm very aware of saying that now. But anyway, I digress because that's what we do on this show. There was a guy who would go into the bins and miniatures would have test shots, and sometimes those test shots. So if you ever notice on a sprue, you get lots of little dots on one side. That's how many times it's been reviewed and tested, rejigged and retried. So all these little dots you get on there is like, it's been thoroughly checked over, because sometimes like the feed lines don't go all the way to the end of a blade and you have a bit of a blob, or it's not finished. So there was like one test for the plastic Valkyrie that didn't do so well. It was like one fitting or something. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but they had about 14 sprues of Valkyries which went straight into the recycling bin to be recycled and turned back into plastic to be reused again. And this one guy took them all out and put them under his desk. And I was like, are you ever going to do anything with those? He was like, I'll probably sell them. I was like,
you can't
do
really
that. Be doing that. He's like, they don't know. I was like, cool. And it was not long after Duncan had started. And Duncan, he likes his RBTs and his enforcers for Necromunda, and he wanted to do a...
Whilst you're talking, sorry, I'm going to go around and turn the volume down on my computer.
Oh,
because the Discord keeps beeping.
Beep, beep. Oh, yes, we did get that mentioned last time in the chat, so you better get that sorted.
It's not my fault for forgetting to turn the volume down. It's our Discord's fault for enjoying it so much.
Yes, stop enjoying it.
Because it's such a lovely place to be.
It is.
And it's just lots of messages in a multitude of different chats.
Yeah,
about
food and drink.
Warhammer, some about food. There's one for pet pics. That's one of my personal favourites. Somebody posted a picture of like a shark that washed up on a beach, and he was like, it's not a pet, but this was just down the road. And I was like, wow,
interesting.
Australia's a crazy place, man.
Well, I
think it was Australia.
You're going to do that. I'll continue my story, otherwise I will get sidetracked even more.
Please go on.
So Duncan had not long started, and he was into like doing like some vehicles for his enforcers stroke Arbites, and he wanted to do a Valkyrie with a searchlight on it. So it had no guns, Pat, no guns at all, just a searchlight, which I thought was quite amusing. It was like a troop transport, so it would hover around like the lower areas of Necromunda, which would be a bit scary flying through the inside of a hive city. But then, the Millennium Falcon's flown through the Death Star, so it's doable. True facts, I saw a documentary about it once. It's called Return of the Jedi, so it's worth checking that out if you've never seen it. And so he wanted to do this conversion. He was like, I want to make a Valkyrie that's got searchlights on it and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was like, such and such. I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to,
get him in trouble.
Not even get him into trouble. Just don't want to talk about him. And I was just like, you've got like 14 sprues down there. You couldn't just chuck one towards Duncan. He was like, no, I'm not going to. I want to use them all for myself. I was like, yeah, but you're going to sell them on eBay, which is one, wrong, and two, you're not going to do anything with them. He was like, and they're free. You didn't actually pay any money for them. You just took them out of a bin.
It's a bit unfair.
And he was like, no, I'm going to keep them for myself, thanks. And I was like, cool. So when he went for lunch, I just took a sprue and gave it to Duncan. Because one, he stole them. Two, he was going to make money out of things that were getting thrown away.
Yeah.
And three, they weren't really his property. It was work property.
No,
and Duncan wanted to do a cool conversion, which he did.
Yes.
I was just like, what a knob.
The busiest I ever saw the sprue bin was when somebody found some bits of like Cursed City boxes and threw them in there, and I'd never seen as many people huddled around there.
I used to like dropping stuff on the round table and seeing like the crows descend.
It is funny. It is funny. I mean I was totally part of that as well. I think I've got a few Death Guard sprues and some bits of scenery that I thought might be useful.
So Sugs.
Yes.
Sugs going rogue. Rogue Hobbies. Good name. Strong name, Louise.
You probably already subscribed to it already.
And if you've not,
but if you haven't, go and do it. Go and do it. She's left. I mean, I guess we were sort of privy to some of her plans slightly before they were announced. But no, good on you, Sugs. I think the whole community is behind you. And we say, go out and absolutely smash it. Yeah, there was a romantic notion a few years ago, about a year ago, when I was looking to go, longer than a year ago now, because
probably 6 months being with you now, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Me, Sugs, and Hats were all thinking of departing and joining up, and life got in the way. Hattie went to work with Midwinter, and then me and Sugs were like, and then you approached me. I was like, hey, Sugs. She's like, oh, I'm not sure. So she stayed where she was, and then thankfully she's in a better place, I think, mentally, physically. And she gets to do what she wants, which is paint goblins and rainbow warriors and bright colours. I don't know if I mentioned this on the last chat or not, or if I just mentioned it randomly in conversation, because we talk a lot when we're here and I sometimes forget if it's chat or not. So we met up with Suggs and Hattie in Midwinter.
Yep.
At Bugman's, just chatting and stuff.
The picture with your wife.
My guns. Strong woman.
Liz putting everyone to shame.
Well, she put my arms to shame. She just borrowed my arms for a day. That's all she did.
Okay.
She gave them back after.
Took them off in the morning and then strapped them on.
I'll come to that in a minute, because she beats me up. It's great. Not in a bad way, in a fun way. Because she pretends not to look too strong, so we're in the hallway and she tried to push past me. I was just like, oh, come on, you can do harder than that. And she did, and I nearly went flying. And I was like, I'm proud of you, dear. But yeah, so we met up and it was really nice chatting to Suggs and Guy and Hattie. And, I forgot my train of thought because I was talking about Suggs and
choo-choo.
But yeah, I was aware that Louise was going, I know what it's going to be. I remembered now. Sidetrack, this is what happens. So the thing I find really funny is my wife is a bit like my mum. So she likes my posts. She doesn't actually, so whenever a video, she watches the videos like the chats. She don't watch the paint ones, but she does actually. She has them in the background. But when I put a post up on Instagram, because it's linked to my Facebook, she's very, I won't say prevalent on Facebook. She uses Facebook more than any other, so she doesn't have any other social media. So she sees like the stories come up, she sees the posts, and she goes, I just like them. I don't actually look at them or read them. I was like, cool, thanks, darling. She's like, it's because what you do is really nice. And I was like, cool.
She's just showing support.
Yeah. As soon as Louise put something up, she's like, it's so beautiful. Look at that. Look at the paintwork. And I showed that to my friend. We were like looking at her figures and this and I was like,
oh, interesting.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
So you hate my painting, but you like Louise's. That's fine. So Louise, you're doing well. If you can get my wife behind your painting, she hates mine.
Yeah.
She'll be watching going, I don't hate yours. No, you don't hate it.
But,
it's interesting.
There's an interesting debate, I think, isn't there? Like I think we chatted about it a bit with Dave when he was on. And sort of like you have some of the YouTubers that are now sort of moving into more like your aspirational content, like your display level painting. And your Squidmars that are sort of like, we're doing massive dioramas now. And that's pretty much what we do. And I guess people watch it to go through the process and being like, wow, it was a 10-part series and it went from that to that. I'll never be able to do that, and that's so cool. And I've talked about it before. Like Alex Steele, who's like a blacksmith. He used to do, I'm going to make this falchion and it's going to take me 24 videos to do, or like a samurai sword or something like that. And people, interestingly, are moving into doing that sort of stuff with Warhammer. So you have your aspirational stuff, you have your tutorials on the other end of the spectrum, which is here's how to paint this specific miniature. And neither's right or wrong. Everyone's doing what they want to do, but it's interesting what seems to be getting more views at the moment, or this, that, and the other. And whether, because I think, say like the painting coach, for example, we name drop him quite a lot because his tutorials are really good, and he sent me a voice message saying Balthazar Gold, which is cherished forever. And as we found a little bit as well, I guess. So painting coach, I think he has 80,000 subscribers now, something like that, like getting up there. But comparatively, some of the views, they kind of vary per model, like what's kind of in vogue at the moment and that kind of thing. Is they're comparatively like a bit lower, like as we found, I think a single miniature tutorial, if it gets 10,000 views, that's quite good. If it's sort of like, here's how to paint an ultramarine, here's how to paint a stormtrooper, or something along those lines. Whereas we paint a warlord titan, and they say it in a funny voice and kind of like dramatize the whole thing, and they seem to be doing quite well. But,
I suppose, I mean, you could do that with painted minis, but I guess there's no right or wrong way. I think it's what people want to see, and I know from our channel we want to help people get stuff on the tabletop. That's our big mantra. So we'll continue doing that. Sometimes we'll like make a story out of it, like we've done with the Imperial Guard one, where 12 hours becomes 15 hours. The Angron, 6 hours to paint a Primarch, which is like a couple of hours one on a Saturday, a couple of hours on a Sunday. So I want to stick to that because, at the end of the day, I want to help people. It's the difference between being Bob Ross and Leonardo da Vinci, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Raphael. I don't know. I can't remember how good Leonardo da Vinci is. He's good at making stuff.
I don't know about talking about Ninja Turtles.
I was talking about Leonardo, Donatello, and all the others. Cowabunga, baby. My dad once said that into a car park. You get the barrier.
Yes.
We pulled up, it wasn't working, so we pressed the button and just shouted Cowabunga. I think I was like, can I help you? I was like, yeah, the barrier's not working. No way he did that. But that just reminded me when you're talking about Ninja Turtles. Yeah, shouting Cowabunga to random gate operators is not a good move.
I love Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. But yeah, it's tricky because you got to... There's the algorithm, right? There's packaging the videos, but also you want to try and help people.
Making videos that people want to watch.
I would be interested to see how, and it probably would just plummet or be the same. I don't know, if I did a high-end paint job as a paint guide. It's against what I want to do.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
It's like, I can do it, but I don't want to do it because I want to help people. Because this is not based on any facts. This is more like from what I've witnessed over my years of experience and opinion, is I do think there's far more people that struggle or don't enjoy painting or find it a big barrier than there is the high-end painters that do exhibition painting. So I aim at the vast majority, which I think want to get stuff on the tabletop as quick as possible. And we still get comments going, that's really badly painted. Cool, go off and watch Richard Gray then. Stop watching our videos and commenting on them. That's fine. If you don't enjoy it, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, but
not for you.
Yeah.
It's for everyone else that...
I think there'll always be elements of that.
I don't. And Sugs will get it, and Duncan will get it. You'll get people that will probably like go, oh, that's really badly painted, or like, oh, you could have done it faster, or whatever. Even Duncan, I know he is the Lord and Saviour of many, but I'm sure he gets them. I mean, we used to when we were on Warmer TV. Used to get comments, so it's just part and parcel. Some people are out there just to be mean. I think it makes them feel better inside, and if that helps them feel better, then I'm glad I've helped.
Yes. He's really doing it for
But don't be mean to Sugs, because she doesn't deserve it. She's like...
He does.
I do. Look at me. Sugs doesn't deserve it. The world is not pure enough for Louise Sugden. I think Rob would agree with that.
She showed me some maybe a year and a bit ago now, some threads that she found on like 4chan.
Oh god, yeah,
and stuff, and they were really creepy.
Well, there was one, and at the time Pat Price was with us as well, and he obviously ex-copper at the time. Well, he wasn't a copper at that time, but you can go back into being a policeman quite quickly, can't you?
His career is a sandwich. It's armed police officer, battle report presenter, armed police officer. it's a sandwich. You have a good bit, and then another good bit.
And you think those two bits of bread would be like the hardest parts, apparently, but being a bat report presenter was harder than dealing with armed gunmen. But yeah, so he was looking at some of the things that Louise got sent, and they were horrible. There was like one person had commented and said, I walk past that place every day. I could go there and attack her and no one would know who I am. And I was just like, what the hell? That's like really bad, and threatening as well.
Yeah,
because it was along the lines of, I know what she looks like, she doesn't know what I look like, and I could, harm her at any point. And I'm like, why would you want to harm someone you don't know? And two, that's so many levels of weird and creep. You shouldn't be allowed to speak or type on the internet, let alone get outside your door, if that's the kind of attitude you display to the world.
I watched a documentary on incels, which is like young men, and it's like involuntary celibacy.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like cells inside of prisons.
No, like it's a lot of like frustrated young men that think that kind of like women are out to get them.
Well, they are.
Or
they want to marry her and be happy.
Or that kind of thing. And there was one lad who spent loads of time like in his room and on the internet, and it's like an echo chamber, you know. Like I remember, was it like when David Cameron became Conservative Prime Minister, and it was a super interesting thing because like loads of people on my Facebook were sort of like, I voted Labour, I voted Labour, I voted Labour. And then it was like, David Cameron got in. And I was like, no way. But everyone voted Labour. Like, no, they didn't. Like, loads of people that I knew voted Labour.
Yeah. And forget, don't you?
And all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like that echo chamber thing. Oh, yeah, there was one of the comments that Sugs told me was just like, because the unfortunate thing is, like, say, as two, like... Dudes, two white guys on the internet.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've like had a comment about my appearance.
I have
on here. And now that I've said,
I mean,
that,
yeah, I'm sure you will. I mean,
people will be like,
a
hey,
normal
Pat,
human.
You look rough today, and I'll be like, damn right.
I'm like a shriveled version of Voldemort. So yeah, I get
Voldemort's quite shriveled already.
More so. I've been in the bath longer.
Oh
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, but it's why I'd really like to get some more women on the show and discuss that sort of element of it. And we'd love to get Sugs on. The invite's there. We just want to try and
she's
work
busy.
work out a date, and she might want to talk about some of the stuff before she comes on here on her own channel, which is completely fair.
We'll see.
But yeah, being a woman on the internet in like a very male dominated space. Is, you know, your painting will be criticised, but then also, like, I think when Sugs was on Masterclass, they were like, "Oh, she needs to get her nails done."
Yeah, I mean,
and that sort of thing, and about her looks, and that must be really challenging to deal with.
So what I found really interesting, because I used to sit with Sugs a lot, and we used to talk a lot, and she came on live once for a Hangout and Hobby, and that was when we started talking about like the stuff she'd painted. She's known as Savage Orc Guy on Tinterweb. And I was chatting to her, and I was like, you know, how has it been? You know, you got quite a big following and stuff. Because at that time, even, it was like before Duncan had left, a couple of years before Duncan left, I think.
Oh, right.
And she had a huge following, and rightly so. And she started off as Savage Orc Guy. She never showed a picture of herself. She never mentioned she was a lady. And she got a decent amount of followers.
Oh, so do you think people assumed because it was Savage Orc Guy,
it was a dude?
People thought it was a.
And she, her content was liked on the merits of what it was.
Yeah.
And then one day she just went, "Oh, I'm gonna put my face on my profile, mention my lady." She got some hate for that.
Yeah.
It's like, you're only doing it because you're a woman. It's like, no, I've been doing this for this long,
doing it for ages,
and I've never mentioned I was a lady.
Yeah.
So you instantly get like your weird misogynist that just hate people being successful, and especially if they're female. But then obviously, you know, she just was like, oh, just I enjoy painting. It's what I do. I don't care whether my reproductive system's on the, you know, my bits are on the outside or the inside. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But for some reason, some people took umbrage with the fact that she said she was a lady as opposed to just being a hobbyist, which I don't think should make any difference to any argument in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
But she had a good following before she said she was a girl, and then as soon as she mentioned she was a girl, she got hate, which is weird because the internet's weird.
That is weird. But I think like we talked about like representation, and there's always some like interesting comments and stuff like that. Which I guess I don't necessarily want to go into because reading some of the replies, I'm like, oh. But anyway, no.
If she's ever on, she'll tell you some of the good comments. There's one that talked about her being a guy who's a connoisseur of small petite women. He's like, I'm a connoisseur of small petite women. I was like, okay.
Oh, was this the same guy that said anime's ruined real life women?
I think it might be. Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, there's some interesting people.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I mean, I don't pretend to know anything about anything.
Neither do I.
But
apart from painting fast.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like I think being a woman in the hobby does come with its own challenges. I think they're critiqued a lot more than men are. And yeah, I like have a like. I remember saying, I was like, oh, my sister said, oh, you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
And someone said in a comment, they were sort of like, hey, but how come there were astronauts? Like, there's always the first person. And it's like, yes, like this is like a generalized little saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we all know who Rosa Parks is.
Yeah.
She sat on a bus.
Yeah.
And she paved the way for it to be a lot easier for other people to sit anywhere they wanted on a bus.
Yeah. yeah.
Like, there always is a first person, but the idea is it's a lot harder for said person, and then it's easier afterwards. Like, there were the first astronauts, but the Apollo 5 rocket, the Apollo missions, like Apollo 11 obviously went to the moon. There was one before, they were doing a load of tests, it caught fire and they all died.
Oh, yeah. And
it's like, well, they were the first ones, but then they made that mistake, and then it was easier for like Neil Armstrong, and everyone thinks he was the first. It's like, no, it's that crew that all burned alive.
So I heard a story, and this is from a reputable source, Dave Andrews. I believe it's Dave Andrews. It could have been Ray Dranfield. They're very into their World War II. And the first paratroopers were Russian, and they used to walk along the wings and jump off because the plane would fly really low, and they all broke their legs. And then I guess the European forces were a bit like, that's a terrible idea. We need a way to slow you down after you've jumped off.
So what, they'd jump off without parachutes?
Yeah. They'd walk along the wings, the plane would fly really low, and then they'd just jump off the back of the plane. fair Some
enough.
Didn't break the legs, but quite a fair few did. So like your casualty ratio was quite high.
I can imagine.
I mean, if you know any different or can clarify that, stick it in the comments, because I heard it from someone who's very into their World War II, and I was just like, that can't be real. I'm sure I did have a bit of research, but then the internet sometimes is full of lies. But I've read it once and heard it once, so it does give me a sense that it did exist.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, you know, the first people to do paratrooping did it a bit different.
Yeah, probably hobbled a lot afterwards. And then the parachute was invented. Wonderful. Yes. And there's I don't necessarily know where my point was going with that, but it's an interesting like with the advent of TikTok and Reels and they're kind of like lip syncing to stuff and relating that to your hobby. Like, there was that big sort of boom with that on Instagram, and certainly, like, from my personal experience, like, there's a few guys doing it. I keep getting a guy who has written lyrics to like famous pop songs about how he just has a massive pile of shame, and I'm like, oh, that's quite funny. But then I've seen like 10 of them now, and I'm just like, I'm okay. But I think like Silver Paints was quite popular. Is very popular
actually.
No, I think she put up a post saying like, oh, I've been really busy, like she changed jobs and stuff like that, and that sort of stuff. But I'd be really interested to talk to like Silver Paints, is Rach Warhammer Girl, and some others, and because like they did the reels and all that sort of stuff, and they have like a sizable following. Be interesting to hear their thoughts on
next time. Darcy's
experience.
over as well. Darcy, if you're watching, you probably are. She's one of our patrons as well,
and she's always the on the credit list. She's always the last one because she was the first one to support us on the credit.
She was
thing.
Indeed, because she's amazing. But
nice.
She's in the States, so she came down for the Horus Heresy weekend. We played a game of Warcry. That was fun. She trounced me. But
who doesn't, Peach?
Well, good fun hobbyist. Knows a lot about painting.
It's quite. Just from Buzz saying that, when you're like, oh, I got beaten in a game. Obviously, we do our Necromunda stuff, and I remember like some of the practice games we had. I was like, something's wrong here. Like, I won, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this feels incorrect.
Yeah.
And then after the first game that we filmed and missed a bunch of rules out of, I was like, right, let's get all this nailed. And it was some guy's review of like Corpse Grinders and how to play them and all the rules. And like his opening sentence was just like, these guys are broken. Necromunda is not a balanced game. He was like, these are perfect for beginners, and you could easily win a game. You could win your first game. And I was like, okay, that's what happened to me.
The interesting thing as well, I suppose that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you've never played before. So that's a nice segue in. But you don't get all the extra stuff that I would get for Vansar because I've got the extra packs of things, which have got the Archaeotex, the Neotex, the Arachnorig Warsuit. You've got probably the Harvester of the Eightfold, who's like the big resin character, who's like the named dramatis persona.
Yeah.
I don't and then maybe him. Maybe some other random bits, but you won't get as much as I think everyone else will.
No,
which is fine.
Run forwards.
We need to carry on with that because we've got our game to play.
Stab people. Yeah, but the depressing thing is, I realised that I wasn't using them to their full potential.
You're still trouncing it. Well, this is what I liked about doing that first game, getting it out. Was one to see test the water. Went down fairly well, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll get the others played and filmed and edited. I know it's a nightmare to edit, so hopefully Pat's going to teach me how to edit so I can do some videos whilst he's editing those. That might be the plan. I could do some chats,
figure something out.
It just means we can get more videos out. That's how I want to do it. But also play some more games, get those out, learn a bit more. The rules will be loosey-goosey, as I always like to say, because we're learning. We'll forget some things, remember some new stuff. Slight subject, because that's what we do, played my first proper game of Kill Team at the weekend against my wife's friend's partner, Sam, who is also a patron. Hey, Sam. And I said this is what I hate about new game systems. So Warcry, I played it loads. When I first started playing it, I found it a bit harder to get into, but actually I found Warcry easier to get into than Kill Team. Kill Team is a bit more rules heavy than Warcry, and I like it. I like the game system. I find it clunky in places, but I also understand some of like the measuring thing where you have like white circles which is 2 inches each. I now get that when you start taking more damage, you lose like one weapon skill, one ballistic skill. You lose some from your movement as well.
Oh, okay. So it's like bracketers.
Yeah, so you lose like one of those circle movements. So instead of having 3 circles, you have 2 circles. The thing I've discovered is there's a lot more bookkeeping, whereas like Warcry, you put some wound tokens on your card. Yeah. So you know how many wounds you've taken. Whereas like I feel like I need a notepad.
Because do you have an activation token for each one, but then also whether they're like
concealed? So that was something that foxed me as well, because I was like, do you keep those for the next turn and then change? So there's a lot of rules that I've got to get my head around. I watched Pat Price teach me the rules.
Welcome, Tech Ops Commander, or whatever it is. Yeah.
So I watched those. I did a little shadow game with myself and read the rules. Sam came around to play, and immediately I forgot everything. And I was like, I'm really sorry, Sam. I'm trying. My head is just filled full of data. Yeah, and I can't. Yeah. But we muscled through it. We had a bit of fun. He was using 5 intercessors, and I had the blooded. I was using the blooded rules.
Oh yeah,
And
I think if you have a specific kill team, they generally do a lot better, I think, don't
they? So if you like with the blooded, it's versus, in the set there's 10 Phobos Marines versus 10 technically 12 blooded, because you could have 14 blooded troopers, or if you wanted an Ogren, he counts as 2. If you wanted and they also have blooded markers which give you benefits. So they have like Spec Ops, Tac Ops, which Spec Ops you do in the command phase, strategic phase, whatever it's called, and then the Tac Ops can be done during the game. But you use command points for that, so you have to accrue command points. So I'd say it's like Warcry, but with more detail to it. I like Warcry because it's simplicity, but you can make it more complicated if you need to, but not like in a way that it becomes quite clunky. But I do like how Kill Team plays as well. I just need to get my head around some of the rules. And Necromunda I really like. Again, with it being like it sounds like a negative, it's not meant to be, but Forge World are very much into making fun books, but sometimes their rules can be a bit all over the place, and you're a little bit like going back and forth and stuff like that.
It was interesting chatting to Rob about that, and he was just like, it's the crunchiest, like most difficult thing, and all the rules are in like 5 different books. I was chatting to someone at this wedding in France. Someone said we were chatting in a pub and we were talking about Warhammer a little bit, and then afterwards he was like, your name's Patrick, and I was like, yeah, and he was like, and you live in the Midlands? And I was like, yeah, Nottingham. And he's like, and you like Warhammer?
Are you starting to see like a red dot? This is our target.
Yeah. And he was like, I think I watched your podcast the other day. I was like, oh, cool.
Oh, sweet. That's amazing.
Yeah. And he was like, I watched the one with Pete the Wargamer. And then he talked about, we were chatting about Necromunda.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But he had a really cool story before, he said that he watched the show or realised who I was, because we were in a pub in a place called Brest.
Yeah.
In an Irish pub of all places.
They get everywhere, Irish pubs, don't they?
Yeah, again, I think with it's kind of like the Celtic connection.
Yeah, because my brother worked for a 3 Guinness pubs in Beijing. He was in one. There was like 3 in Beijing. He worked at one, which was like an Irish run pub. Just really random, and that was years ago. He went over to China to learn Mandarin, which sounded. I mean, I had to do that for one of the paint guides for workshop.
You had to say like hello in
Yeah, it was. I can't remember exactly the translation of it, but it was something along like Happy New Year. And it was the year of the tiger.
Yeah,
but I did sound. I was terrible. I could probably remember how to do it, but because I have no sort of sense of articulation.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going, hello and welcome to the painting phase.
Yeah.
So it was like along those lines. I was just like, I'm just going to do what this lady called Lauren, she gave me like a thing. A partner is English, but he also listens, and he corrected and stuff. But I sounded more like I was speaking Huttese as like a bounty hunter as opposed to Mandarin. So I'm really sorry if I just murdered your native tongue.
Yeah, like I was very like I haven't studied French since secondary school. Very, very long time ago. And Google Translate is full of adverts now, which is annoying. Or maybe I downloaded the wrong one. But the sentence I learned that got laughed out of the natives, I would just say, Je suis désolé. Pause for dramatic effect. And he'd be like, Je suis anglais. Which is, for anyone who's just like, I'm sorry, I'm English.
Yeah. I remember my very first French lesson was at secondary school. We'd moved up from primary, went to secondary, and your very first French lesson, you sit down and this woman comes up to you and goes, Qu'est-ce que c'est? And I was like, I don't speak French.
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
And I was like, I had no idea what it meant. So it's what is your name? Is that right?
Yeah, maybe.
I think so. I don't know.
Something like that.
Terrible now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't speak that. I did speak German. As a child.
Yes, you were born in Germany.
Yeah, I was born in Germany, and spoke German as a child. And I find it really weird. I don't know if anyone, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the channel before, but if anyone else has experienced this or knows what it is, please tell me in the comments. But I lost that knowledge of the language.
Oh, right.
Because I moved to the UK, and then we did primary school.
Yeah.
Then we went up to secondary school, and you had to do French.
Yes.
Before you could do any other language.
Yes.
And I wanted to do German because I was still like at that brink of like understanding bits of it.
Yeah.
And I had to do French, and I really struggled with French. Really, really struggled. And I think I was a really bad student, to be fair. Unless I was like thinking or talking about toy soldiers, drawing pictures of toy soldiers, or going to history and like talking about Romans and the Wild West and stuff like that. I didn't care. And so I lost that kind of knowledge. But what is really weird, and it freaks my wife out, is like sometimes we're watching a program and then there'll just be a German word and I know what it means. I can't tell you how to say it. I can't say it myself. But when I hear it, I know what it means. And I don't understand that.
That's interesting.
I don't know if it's like some weird sort of like conditioning that I can just like pick up on words and just go, I know what that means.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Weird.
Flashbacks to a different life.
I don't know. It's just I can now understand why like sleeper cell spies have trigger words and then
and then they're like brought back,
like Winter Soldier,
like Manchurian Candidate style.
Yeah. But it's just really weird. Just every now and again, I'm just like, I understand that.
Well, like your version of Manchurian Candidate, you're watching a film with some Nazis in. It's like that means cheese.
Probably.
The Spondon Candidate.
The Spondon Candidate. That's genius. Yeah, absolutely.
The chap I was talking to in this Irish pub in France.
Sorry, I completely took you off.
No, it's fine. I wanted to get back to it because I don't want to forget it because it was a really cool story. And I was just like, that's awesome. him and his wife love Lord of the Rings, and he said they went on a Lord of the Rings tour, and they went to the bit like the breaking of the Fellowship, which Boromir, R.I.P.
I'll tear up.
So and it's the like the river, and Frodo gets in a boat and Sam chases after him and all that sort of stuff. And he was like, oh look, here's a picture of me dressed up as like the Witch King, and he has like the sword and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. But the bit that I was just like, that's the coolest thing in the world ever. He was like, yeah, so when he was like, I don't know if it was like when people weren't looking, he was like, I had all of these like Ziploc plastic bags, and I was on the shore picking up like little pebbles and bits of sand.
Yeah.
And his wife, bless him, was like, yep, I was stood there like rotating them all out and giving him the little bags. And he was like, so my Fellowship of the Ring miniatures are based with basing material from Middle Earth.
Smart.
And I was like, that is amazing.
Cool. That is
like, that's
cool.
so cool.
I think that is something I'll have to do. I know Zorp, I talked to him a fair bit, Lackey, and he has been doing, he's done one video so far, which is making Edoras on Edoras. So he goes to locations.
Oh, yeah.
And he makes that piece of scenery. It's not like the full Edoras, he does like the gatehouse.
Yeah.
But he's like, I didn't realise this, because it's like a protected area. If he's got static grass and it's windy, that material can't go into the ground. He has to, anything he has to like.
Oh, you have to bring it back with you.
But yeah, I'd be totally up for like getting bits of soil or sand and like making Edoras out of that or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Into that idea.
Or like let's go, and then just like recreate scenes, or like have like Frodo in a boat and just voice him like we do with our like
we could do all ads. Yeah.
I'm going on my own,
and I'm going with you.
And just throw Sam in the
river. And he's metal ball. Oh no, does actually drown in this one.
Oh dear.
I remember watching that movie at the cinema, and I went with a bunch of mates from uni, and they'd never read Lord of the Rings, and no one cried at Boromir, right? But they cried at Sam potentially drowning. I knew Sam wasn't going to die because I'd read the books, and I'm just there like, you crying at Sam potentially drowning.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the most valuable player.
Oh, he's the MVP, isn't he?
I think it was, I saw a meme, and it had like the Fellowship minus Sam, and it's like 1% of the Fellowship.
Yes.
And then it includes Sam, it's like 100% of the Fellowship.
Yeah. He's great.
Genius.
Yeah.
Chilcon, we went to that, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, so that was fun. So that was up in Sheffield. We met a few people. It was really nice.
We did, yeah. If we did meet you, it was lovely to meet you. We
pegged a fair few people. As in close peg. So that was just a bit of fun, just going around sticking close pegs on folks. Got some nice cake as well.
We did get some nice cake. Yeah,
I kept wanting to say it was lemon drizzle, but it wasn't lemon drizzle. It was some form of lemony, citrusy, orangey cake, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was very
I think
nice,
so.
very tasty.
Yeah. Just from someone's Tupperware that they had on them.
Yes, yeah. They're just like, we got some cake. We like some cake. I was like, I love cake.
Is that like the like middle-aged version of like what school thinks people will do with drugs? Like when you're in school, they're like, oh, don't accept random things or strangers. Like we had to do these like role-playing sessions.
Oh yeah.
Where you'd have bits of paper.
Yeah.
And somebody would be like, do you want to try some ecstasy? And you'd be like, yeah, I'll try some ecstasy. Lol. And then they're like,
we don't recommend this.
You've just accepted these bits of paper, and this might happen, but it might damage you, or this, that, and the other. And it's like you grow up and you're like, one, drugs are expensive. Are people really going to come up to you and try and give them away?
Yeah.
I guess as a man, like nobody will. As a woman, date rape, all that sort of stuff, very serious.
You made this dark.
But that's my privilege coming through, being like, who's going to give me drugs? But then when you get older, it's in cake form, and I love it. I want to accept random cake off strangers.
I'm happy to take any kind of cake, if I'm honest. I'll eat anything. The only thing I don't like, and I don't know why, is licorice. Never been a fan of licorice. No, I'm
not a fan of licorice.
However, if it was the only food source left on the earth, I would eat it.
I think I might die.
Yeah. If tea went, then that's it, I'm out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I could survive without tea.
I can't.
I tell you what though, since we joined forces, I drink so much more tea. Well, I mean, I'm a pretentious artist, and I drink peppermint tea.
Yeah.
Because I don't drink milk, and I just love peppermint tea. I used to drink
I've tried it. It's nice.
black tea for a while, and I was like, maybe I'll just swap. And I tried coffee, but then I couldn't sleep. So I was just like peppermint tea. I drink so much of it, and the big boxes that are like cheaper. It's like when I go to Sainsbury's or wherever, it's like I'm in an imaginary war with someone, because the big boxes, they're never there.
Oh no!
And then they are there, and you're like, oh my god, and it's always like the last one.
So it's just you and someone else that are like trying to get there
just trying to get Nottingham's supply of peppermint tea.
Yeah,
because I have like 3 or 4 a day now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even going to count how many. It's definitely more than 15. Probably their rookie number's 15, I think. But I remember many colleagues from workshop.
Crisis, that kettle.
Yeah, well,
I hope you got the cheap kettle that Boris Johnson told everyone to buy.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
He was like, you should get a modern day when you can save £8 a year. Thanks, Boris.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. But I remember the studio, and even like when marketing, like new colleagues would tell me, like, I've never drank this much tea in my life. I'm like, sorry.
You just have that effect on people.
It's because I go for a tea and I was like, does anyone else want a tea? And they're like, I'll get up and go for a walk. Because they do say, you need to get up when you're sat down at a computer or you're sat down doing painting, you need to get up regularly. Because I paint fairly swiftly. I'd get to stages quicker. Yeah. Like, you know what? I've got all the base coats done. I'm going to treat myself to a cup of tea. So I'll get up and go, anyone for a tea? And like Duncan or Steve would be like, I'll come for a tea. They'd be halfway through the stage. So I used to like really ruin their equilibrium, but they'd be like, I don't want to miss out a tea, and have a bit of a chin waggle about Napoleonics or Star Wars or whatever. So we'd go off for a wander, we'll go and get a cup of tea, we'll come back, they'll crack on. I'd be like on to my next stage and stuff. But I always remember like folks just saying that I drink way too much tea, I need to cut down, I can feel my leather dying in my back. It's either something's going wrong, it's my liver or something, I don't know, it might just be a bad back because the way I sit, because some of us used to sit really bad. I'm horrendous for it, and I will sit at my desk and I'll be like, right, I really need the toilet, I'm really thirsty, and I haven't eaten in like 6 hours, but I'll just get to this bit. And then I'll stop, and I should just get up and perform all of those functions, but I don't. I find when we're here filming and painting, I get into the zone. I don't eat lunch, and
I do offer him food.
He does. I just don't want to, because I'm like,
because I've touched it, he says.
I'll get a beard, and I don't want a beard. I've got a beard, but I don't want a big beard. The wife knows all about the beard.
You don't want a voluptuous full beard.
No, it's just too much pruning. Unless it goes up here, then I'll be okay.
Yeah, I was saying to someone the other day, I'm just slowly migrating all the hair from up here down to here. Yeah, and
then when you get to my age, you become a white walker, and it just slowly travels south.
It's already there. And then when I inevitably have to like shave all my hair off, then I'll be like, the bald head beard look, and then I will have completed the phase of like hair was up here, flip, reverse head,
which is turn upside down. We should do that.
I draw a mouth on my forehead.
Very Zinchian.
An
extra eye. I was going to say something, I can't remember what it was. Something really... chilcon. We were talking about chilcon.
We weren't talking about chilcon. We got distracted by cake and drugs.
That was cool. Not been to it before. It's been going for 5 years now. If you've ever been to like somewhere like Partisan or Hammerhead, it's a bit like that. Probably slightly smaller, but it was really nice, really cozy. We did a speed painting.
That was... We can't... it was
20 minutes to paint a marine, wasn't it? Yeah. And we had only not long just finished doing the Army Painter review.
Yeah.
And we did
speed paints.
White Scar, Blood Angel, and Imperial Fists. And the models were undercoated white. And I was like, well, I've only got 20 minutes. This is how I think. I was like, I've only got 20 minutes. It's undercoated white, so I'm going to do a white colour scheme. This man here, a proud dad moment. As I'm there, getting all my colours ready for a White Sky, there was no conversation, there was no to and fro, he was doing the exact same thing, and I was like, I'm so proud of you right now. He was like, why? It's because it's undercoated white, and if I do this I can pick out some red. I'm like I mean that was a really fun day. It was a great day.
It was great hanging out and meeting people, because when I spend so much time in this room. It's always quite surreal when somebody comes up and shakes your hand and they're like, "Oh, I watched the show. I really like it."
Yeah,
and
I'm like, "It is weird."
Word.
Yeah.
But we bumped into Mikey, Josh, Pickle Jar, Benji's Hobbies.
Mikey won.
Oh yeah,
So funny.
Yeah, he won the vehicle painting competition that he entered like the day before. Which was really cool. But pickle jars, because we cheated and did white scars.
Yeah.
But he did a salamander complete with flames on the pauldron
from a white undercoat. Good. So kudos to Pickle Jar for that.
And then a kid won.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, I mean,
professional painter beaten by child.
I'm okay with that because did you see the smile on the kid's face?
Yeah, they were
that's worth me losing my.
Yeah, I would have felt like really bad, but the experience itself was hilarious.
Yeah.
And we inadvertently started like I hate the word influencer, but like an influencer painting challenge.
Yeah, there's a few of us, and we'll get heckled by people standing behind us. So there's a couple of folks,
and that was really good fun. That was quite like interactive and amusing. So hopefully they do something like that again, next year.
I definitely do.
And
what they should do is do one at the end where
give people like tennis balls to throw at us.
Oh yeah, well that might be worth mentioning to the organisers. Like at the end or like during the day, it's just the influencers that do painting are there, and then you can heckle them and you can put them off. Wet sponges out and stuff like that.
If you donate £5 to charity, we will snap Peachy's paintbrush.
Oh no, I'm fine with that.
He has to do finger painting.
I'm good at finger painting.
I think that would be really fun.
It was a good day. We got to see a lot of stuff. And we talked to the War on Terror guys who put a post up over the weekend, just painting up some of their Tesla Marines.
Yeah, we're going to have them on the chat show soon.
Yes, yeah, really nice models. Really enjoyed painting them. I want to do some of the greys as well and get the whole set. So I've done 2 colour tests. I'm two minds. I mean, I'm not sure we'll do a full paint guide for the video for the channel, but we're definitely going to look at the set and paint the stuff up. I'm in 2 minds to just do one of every colour scheme and just showcase them and go, this is what I think. That colour scheme could look like from my point of view, and this colour scheme could look like from my point of view. You can still play the game with this eclectic mix of different colour schemed humans versus greys and stuff.
Yeah.
Or just pick one of those 2 I've done, and maybe we should put a poll out.
Yeah.
Do a couple more and go, I'm thinking these 4 schemes, and then poll it, see what people think. But get the rest of the set paint up, have a go at the game.
We haven't had a poll on Patreon in a while.
We haven't.
No.
I need to get on that. It's important to do polls.
Yeah. But after being at chilcon and having lots of fun there, because we were stood behind a table for a little bit for like a meet and greet, but because we'd wandered around quite a lot, we'd meted and greeted
quite a few people,
quite a lot of people already. So I think it would be quite fun at Salute.
Yes, yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
You'll know if you've met us whether you've met us intentionally or not, because we will leave a mark upon you. Oh yeah.
And I will get you to sign a consent form.
No, you'll just give them stickers like you kept doing. I'm really sorry, here, have a sticker.
So someone did say on Discord, they were like, Peachy did this thing, and then Pat was just kind of there apologetically handing out stickers.
Sorry. That was nice. It's not that far away as well, so
it's really cool. Up. I more meetings and stuff like that. It's great. Like I'd like always do them. I think GriffCon I'm shooting a wedding, but in the future hopefully I can do less weddings and more meaty people things.
As the guys from Sump City Radio had a podcast them a little while back, they dropped a message saying, you coming up to do this gaming thing if you get time. I think it's in October. I need to check on my Instagram, and nearer the time I'll probably put a post up, but it's only in Belper, which is literally around the corner from where I live. So I'll be like, I think I'll be going to that. So it's gaming, so you take your corpse grinders, ruin everyone's day. They obviously all know the rules. I will probably forget a million and then just go, what am I doing here? And they'll be like, that's not how you play the game, Peach. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm getting Kill Team, Warcry and Necromunda all mixed up into one with a little bit of Star Wars Legion thrown in, because that's how my brain works, I'm afraid.
I wonder if you could like play a game where you're all playing the same game, but like someone's playing 40k, someone's playing Legion, someone's playing Heresy or whatever, and you just have rule systems face off against each other. Just to decide which one is the best game.
That's Lord of the Rings strategy battle game.
Okay.
There's no argument.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
If all game systems had that rule system.
I do hear good things about it.
Oh yeah, it's easy to pick up. It's something that I think Rick Priestley once said, or it was Jervis saying, it's easy to learn, hard to master.
Interesting.
And it's very true because it's a very simple rule system, but there's loads of extra stuff. I'd say Warcry is quite close as well. I've always been a big fan of how simple Warcry is to pick up and play. But Lord of the Rings will always have a strong following from the Peach, and they used it for a lot of Warhammer historical stuff as well, like the Old West. Me and Duncan made our own set of rules for American Civil War because we painted some American Civil War stuff up, and we did the Battle of Little Round Top where I had Confederacy, I had Union, and we just basically got men of Gondor and orcs and stuff like that, and just changed the stats of this is not an orc, this is a militia, this is not like a Rohan, this is like a normal soldier, and then like Gondor was a bit more like a veteran and stuff like that. So we had different stats for different levels of ability, and then we did the same for Napoleonics. I got Duncan, into Napoleonics. He always wanted to do Napoleonics, and I got him a box of French, Perry French, and I got a box of some British, and I got Boromir's head and stuck it on a rifleman and made sharp. And we played a couple of small skirmish games just using Lord of the Rings as a rule system, which worked really well. So you just use, I think it was either it was longbows or bows for muskets, but when you wanted rifles, that's when you used the Uruk-hai crossbow because it's a bit longer and it had a bit more punch to it. So we'd find we just decide amongst ourselves like what rules we'd use here, what rules we'd use there, and it was like very generic human stats across all the Lord of the Rings factions. The humans have very similar stats, so I was like, that's the stats for these guys, and if it was human cavalry, they'd have these stats. If you had like a French cuirassier on horseback or a British hussar or something like that, you just use, your French guy's got a big armour breastplate on, so he's going to have a bit of a high defence. This guy's not got any, so he's not going to have a high defence. So you could easily look at some of the stat lines in Lord of the Rings and goes, that's a cuirassier, that's a hussar, that's a dragoon or whatever.
Interesting.
So you could easily drop things in. That's the great thing about, I think, all the rule systems are out there. You can always mix and match. I went to see Dave Andrews, play a game with him. I love playing games with him. He had a big Black Powder game going on with Napoleonics. Chose to be the French for once. I thought I'll play as the French, see how I get on with those. They've got some very nice stuff. I had a lot more troops. I had to occupy 2 little crossroads or road junctions. Was doing quite well. Dave was really struggling. No one's ever played Black Powder.
No, I never have. So explain it to me like I'm 5.
So Black Powder is, you have a load of soldiers. They're broken into groups known as brigades, and that could have like 4 units in it. It could have 3 units. It could be one full of cavalry. So you have so many of these brigades on the battlefield, and they all have leaders. The
only thing I know about Black Powder is the Charge of the Light Brigade, which is the Iron Maiden song, Trooper.
Oh, well, that you can do the cool. Crimea stuff with Black Powder.
Is that designed
for that? So there are rules involved which roll into hit dice. Every unit has like wounds and abilities to hit, and they get better depending if they're in line. They shoot better if they're in big lines. They are better in combat if they're in big attack columns. They're not very good at shooting or fighting if they're in a march column, so if they're all walking in a big long line, but it's good for moving fast. So you have to, in a nutshell, what I really like about the game is you'll have a brigade. Now you can do it orders to individual regiments, or you can do a brigade order, and I like doing brigade orders. So I'll have like a brigade of infantry, and I'll be like, I want my infantry, and this is what you have to do. Say there's some trees over there and there's a fence, you'll be like, I want and they're all in march column at this point, I want my brigade to form into attack column, so that's order number 1. Then I want them to march as far as they possibly can to get to that fence. You're like, okay, so they need to form into attack column and then probably 2 moves to get to there. The most you can ever do is 3 actions. You roll 2 dice, and the idea is to get below your officer or your brigade commander's leadership. Depending on how below you get, depends how many orders you can get off. So if I get let's say it's an 8 and I get a 7, I can only do 1 action, which is to form into attack column. If I get a 6, I get to do 2 actions, so I can form into attack column and then move. If I get a 5, I can do 3 actions. That's the most you can do. So I can form into attack column, move, and then move to that fence. Sometimes you get something called a blunder, where if you get double 6, they ignore you and do their own thing. And you have to consult a chart. And it could be go back the way you came, which is off the table, which happened. Or it could just be off to the side, or they just charge something random in front of them.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, you have to be fairly specific, but also quite, I'd say, British officer when you're doing it. Go, okay, chaps, what I'd like you to do is form line and slowly march towards the enemy. When you get to the fence, open fire with everything you've got. And then you roll your dice, see what you get, and you're like, oh no, they just move.
Yeah.
And now the cavalry are like on the side and they're going to get charged and minced up. And to cut a long story short, this game with Dave, his guys at the back were just farting about. They were ignoring everything Dave asked them to do. So he'd do his command rolls and they'd go off and do their own thing, or they just weren't paying attention. They'll be naughty, basically. They'll be naughty. And I was getting towards these crossroads and I was going to win the game. And then my guys started being naughty and Dave's guys started paying attention to what was going off. And then he won. So, cut a long story short, it was looking good for me. I had lots of troops, went across. I had to do a lot of walking. And Dave was just like, oh, this is going terrible. Oh, this is going awkward. Oh, my God, I can't believe it. And then he drank one bottle of San Miguel. And then before you know it, his men were like, oh, you want us to go over there and shoot the French? Got you. Why don't you just say that, Dave? So then they did it. It was great. He's got such an amazing gaming room. So Dave's got a huge room. He's got a massive old billiard table that he salvaged from somewhere, and he's put like his own wooden top on it.
Yeah,
he's got he uses towel for his so he gets like wooden squares and he puts like towels over it and then sprays them green and paints them green.
Oh, right.
And it looks like grass and tufts and stuff like that. It's very nice.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he puts like roads on it and stuff like that. But a couple of the features that I really like is he has loads of like paraphernalia, like military paraphernalia, like helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
But his curtain rails are bills, like halberds. So like a pole with like a halberd head on it, or a bill head. And he's got like a big armchair with a French flag on it. So I just love going to Dave's now to play war games.
Yeah, that is quite cool.
If you imagine top tier wargaming room, Dave's made it.
Great.
And I have photos on my phone because I took some photos. I might have to post them and go, this is what the best gaming room looks like.
Yeah, or maybe not our first office space when we hopefully get one, but like, you know, the second one when we outgrow the first.
Well, we would get our consultant, which is the Andrews, to come over and go, Dave, if you were to turn this space into an amazing gaming room, what would that look like? He'd be like, well, you can do it yourself, can't you? Because you're a hobbyist. I'm like, oh, damn it, you're right. I'm going to have him around my house to play. I think he said he wants to play Necromunda, I think.
Okay.
He wouldn't mind trying Legion. He's not a big fan. He likes stuff because he used to do like 40k and whatever, but he never really got into like Star Wars. But I said, do you ever fancy playing Star Wars Legion? Because I'm getting to the point I was originally going to get to, which is what I really like about Dave, is he used to make his own rule systems, but what he does now is he looks at rule systems and tweaks them.
Oh, interesting.
To work for him. And this is like with like me and Duncan doing like American Civil War and Napoleonics with strategy battle game. So Dave's very good at that. He made a really good game years ago and I played it. It was like me, Duncan, a couple of others, and it was a Vietnam game he made, and you start off with victory points, so you have 100 victory points, and the idea is you try to spend as little of those as possible, and at the end of the game there's like a bunch of thresholds to see how well you've done. So if you've not spent any, it's like a major victory. If you spent so much, it's like a minor victory. You spent this amount, it's a draw, a loss, or a devastating defeat, or whatever. So depending on how much of these victory points you use up in the game, that could be airstrikes, that could be getting Hueys to come in to pick your men up and move you across the battlefield to go elsewhere. But you had to find these weapon caches, and it was such a fun game. And there was a television crew just operating around, and they'd randomly move. And unfortunately, we thought there was a weapon cache in this village, so one of the guys napalmed the village. But there wasn't a weapon cache in the village, but there was a news crew who filmed it. And we were like, we're doing all right. Boom! We lost.
So I was just going to say, so you didn't kill the news crew. But then I was like, no, that's equally not as good, because the news crew filmed you napalm a village
of innocents, because we thought that it was a weapons cache there and there were baddies, but it panned out that we got the wrong village because someone wasn't paying attention to the brief, and it was just such a simple rule design, which is like, and it was Vietnam and it's quite topical with some folks I imagine still, but it is a toy soldier game. It was not meant to offend or upset anyone, but it was a really interesting rule system mechanic that you start off with victory points and you spend them to do airstrikes or pickups or get medical aid to come in and pick up your troops and take them away. So depending on how often you needed these things, so if you dropped like your US Marines on a hill with a Huey and the Huey flies off, and you find out you're miles away from any action or any kind of like use, you have to then get that Huey to come along to pick you back up and drop you somewhere else, and that might end up being of no use. So you're constantly using these resource points,
right, okay,
which end up being your victory points to move you around the battlefield. And I just thought it was a really cool mechanic of a game that you start off with victory points and you use them up, and depending on how much you've used is depending on how well you've done in the game. Simple mechanic, but really, really good fun. Dave's very clever at making rules. He's done. I don't think there's a game system he's not done or played, because you look at his room, he's got everything that's historical.
Yeah,
even like things like gangsters. He's got like a load of like 1930s, 20s prohibition sort of gangsters.
Yeah,
and vehicles and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Wild West buildings. Yeah, it's like I don't know how he does it. And he made a really good point. So we're chatting and we're playing. And he was like, "Oh, don't look at them too closely. They're not that well painted." I was like, "Dave, they look amazing. And it's the regiments you're going with."
Yeah.
And he base coats, and he used to do this when we were in the studio. He base coats most of his models, washes them. That's rarely it, because he washes them it's like a thin wash, so it just goes in the recesses.
Yeah.
And then he just puts a bit of effort into the face, and that's it. And then the base, and you got these nice flags. You got this like unit of like 30 figures.
Yeah.
And they look amazing.
Yeah.
And he's like, years ago, I used to put a bit more effort into my paint jobs. And he was talking to one of his friends who used to do the same. He used to be a really good painter. He used to put a lot of effort in, because Dave used to work in what was the heavy metal team really early years.
Oh, right.
Because heavy metal was painting. It wasn't just like high-end painting. It was painting for workshop.
Yeah.
And he's even got like golden demons on his
oh, wow.
his half. So he's he knows what he's doing.
Crikey.
But he was like saying that, this is where I'm at. And I'm sure a fair few of our viewers, when you're young, when you're in like your teens and your 20s and your 30s, you've got all the time in the world. So you put a lot of effort into your paint jobs. When you get to like your 40s and your 50s, you suddenly realise there's a lot of things I want to paint. And I've got a time limit on my eyesight.
Yeah.
Potentially on my life, because I don't know when I'm going to pop the clogs. So his friend now is just like, he does really bare bones painting, where it's like a couple of base coats all over dry brush.
Yeah.
Base them,
yeah,
still look amazing.
Yeah.
And he was saying that, and I think it's a really nice point that Dave made. This guy brought his stuff. I can't remember what the game they were playing with. If it was historical, like Civil War or Napoleonics. But this guy brought his army, and he was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, Dave. They're not that well painted." And Dave was like, "Are you happy with them?" He was like, "Oh yeah, I love them." He was like, "Then why are you apologising?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, because they're not as good as yours." I was like, "Doesn't matter. You're happy with them. That's all that matters. If you're happy with them and you're enjoying playing with them and then you're getting all the benefit from it, why would you care what I think? Why would you care what anyone else thinks? Because you've done what you intended to be. Yeah. So don't judge your painting by my standards, because I've been doing it for years, and these are probably like 20 years old, these paint jobs, when I had time. But yeah, it's a good sort of philosophy, really. Is like, don't feel that when you've painted, because I had this with Sam when he came into play. He'd base coated his intercessors, so they're all blue, got all the gold in the right places. It was all neat. Got his guns done. He was like,
Ultramarines.
I know.
Did you enjoy murdering them?
I murdered two.
Only
two out of the 5. They're quite hard.
Resting on your laurels.
Yeah, well,
because all the kill team teams are like 10 minimum, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So what was interesting at first, this is the rule I didn't observe. I know that you get group activation. So on your stats, it will say GA, and it will say like 1. So most guys, like his intercessor, will have GA1.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so that means when you activate one of your intercessors, you just activate the 1. I didn't realise this at first, but on my stats for the blooded, the normal troops have group activation too. So when you activate a blooded, you have to activate another blooded of the same type. So if I've got guys with las guns,
right, you can do 2 of them.
So what it does, it means that when you've got guys with like 5 troops, you're not getting like a load of like advantage near the end. So you have to nominate 2 people, then he nominates 1. You nominate 2 people, then he nominates 1. So although you might get 2 guys doing more stuff in one turn, it means it's more tactical still for him to be able to like react to a lot of your things. But yeah, his paint jobs were like neat, and he was like, "Oh, they're not as good as yours." I was like, "I don't care. It was like literally
playing games, having fun,
channeling the Dave Andrews right now." I was like, "Are you happy with them, Sam?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Then why? Don't worry about it." I was paid professionally to paint to this level, so
like my corpse grinders. I'm happy with the paint job that I've put on there.
And I think it's amazing.
And I'm like, they could probably be better. But like, they do the job. I got to play the game.
my boy Charlie, he is still playing with some of his soldiers because he's got a load of old daddy's test models and stuff, and he had like a couple of intercessors, the push fit ones.
Yep.
And he was painting one. There's some photos on my Instagram where you see him like painting it and stuff, and he put a bit of gold on, put a bit of red, put a bit of like silver and some other colours, and I was like, what are you going to call him? And he just randomly just goes, I'm going to call him the Fighting Mirror. I was like, that's a cool name for a chapter, I like that. And we were playing the other day, and I was just
spray them all chrome.
Yeah, spray them all, oh yeah. And he was, because he'd seen me playing this game against Sam Kill Team, and he was like, can you teach me how to play that game when I'm older? I was like, of course I can teach you. I was like, would you like me to teach you how to do some painting? He was like, no daddy, I'm better at painting than you, I know how to paint, I've got that. And I was like, are you happy with your painting? He was like, yes. I was like, cool.
Yeah. Can't
argue with a kid.
That advice. Yeah.
But there's the way he was like, no, Dad, I don't need your help. I was like, cool.
I can't remember the specific name of it. I might have talked about it before, but I can't remember. But there's a like an S curve where it's kind of like you start something, so let's say miniature painting, and you learn a little bit. And you're like, oh, so I have to thin my paints, and I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to put shade there. Like, I understand what a glaze is, that kind of thing. And you're like, yeah, cool, this is good. And you kind of, but you know a fraction.
Yes.
But you think you know way more.
Yeah.
And then as you learn more, then you're like, oh, actually, I know sod all.
Yeah.
And then so it's quite interesting that he's on that curve.
Yes,
but he also is a little kid.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
So he's like, yep, no, painting, completed it, mate.
Interesting. I found that with like historicals, where I'd be reading an Osprey book, learning how like the British Army works and how it works into companies. You get flank companies, centre companies, because Victrix used to do a box which was flank companies and centre companies. I had no idea what that meant. I was like, what's a flank company, what's a centre company? Got an Osprey book. It's like, oh right, there's 10 companies in a regiment. 2 of them are flank, 1 on the left flank, 1 on the right flank.
Yeah.
The other 8 are centre companies. And they have like these, what they're called, I think, crow's nests. So like the flank companies have these weird sort of like croissants on the side, and they're like white piping with red in the middle. Croissant. And the Grenadiers are one flank company, and they have like white plumes.
Okay.
There's the light infantry, or the light company, which have these swallow nests, and they have green plumes. And what they do is when they're in line and the French or Prussians or whoever are coming to attack them, they form out and make a skirmish screen. So that's the light infantry's job, is they make a skirmish screen, and they like pick off their skirmishes and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if I remember rightly, the Grenadiers form around the back and protect the colour party, so where the colours are. So the colours are important. You don't want to lose your flags because one's been touched by the king. You've got your regimental flag, you've got your king's colours. Right. So the Grenadiers tend to be the toughest, the biggest, the strongest. So they tend to be like more like, if there's a dirty job that needs doing, like charging a gate or whatever, or mostly protect the colours. And the rest of the other 8 companies are there as just to keep firing at the French column towards them, and keep doing it. So I didn't know that. Got this Osprey book, started teaching me. I was like, okay. So getting a bit more knowledge. Then you start getting like, oh, but that is just like one fraction of like historicals. There's all like the artillery. There's all like the cavalry. They're all different colours, and then that's just that faction. Then there's the French, and they have their own ways of doing their companies, and you have like the Austrians that have their own ways of doing their companies and stuff like that. So there's a whole plethora of things to learn. But one of the things I used to find really funny was someone did an article years ago, was you'd always get your armchair general. They'd be like, oh, I think you'll find you've done that wrong, and that's not how you'd paint a British line company in the 1814. That's not the Belgic shako. That's a normal stovepipe shako. So this is Waterloo. You'll be on the Belgic. Well, actually, mate, if you actually read the book, they didn't always get the gear, so it doesn't really matter, and I don't really care. I remember someone did an article he put on like some social media at the time, and just went going through these people that would constantly like correct you and stuff. And like, just remember, these guys are only one Osprey book ahead of you.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't there. No, they weren't there during the Waterloo. Yeah. They weren't there during the Peninsular War. All they've done is they've read 1 or 2 more books than you. So just ignore them, because once you've got those books, you'll start to learn that as well. Also, don't be that guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's always quite funny when we used to go to events, and like Dave would be doing some stuff like Crimea, and I'll be like moving a cannon and playing, and you get the guy going, that's not how cannons work, I think you'll find. You'll be like, oh, I don't really care.
Disgraceful.
We're all having fun, we're playing, it doesn't really matter. It's not real. That's the thing. I mean, some people do it for that reason. They want to get so much of the minutiae in there.
Yes.
And there's rule systems out there.
It's great that they can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dad had a set called Shako, which is a set of rules. I've still got it at home, and that is mad, the detail in there. That's why I like Black Powder. It's really simple. You got riflemen, this is the rules, that's what they need to roll on the dice. Have your guys been hit? Yeah, they're dead, take them off. I like that. It's nice. Freeform. Yeah.
So you tell me all of that, and now I'm like, one of the flags was touched by the king.
Yeah, so you get the king's colours, which is the big Union flag.
Okay.
And then you get the regimental colours, which tends to be a colour. So let's say we go with Sharp, we do the South Essex, which didn't exist. So if anyone's a really big Napoleonic fan, they'll be like, that's not a real regiment, but it is in Sharp. So they'd have like yellow. You get quite a few. You get like the 88th Connaught Rangers. So they'd have like a yellow flag with like a plaque on it, which will have like the regiment number. So if it's like the 88th, it'll be Roman numerals of the 88th and like a heart-shaped kind of, I don't know what the design is, but sometimes when you see military guys have like an award on a plaque, it'll be like a weird sort of shield shape, like a shield. I should have said shield. They have a laurel wreath around it. They might have a crown on the top of it, or if it's Prince of Wales, it might have like feathers and stuff. So you have this big yellow flag, and on it is like this really nice shield with like Roman numerals.
And it's like the hand of Saruman, just like
almost. And then in the top corner you have like the Union flag. So like, you know, British colours in the top corner, and then you'd have the King's colour, which has the same shield in the middle with the regimental numbers and the laurel wreath. But this one officially is supposed to have been touched by the king, so it's the King's colours. It's very precious.
How long? Like, is it like signing copies of books? He just walks along. Like,
he probably just touches it because they come up when the new regiments have been founded. He just touches it.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's not like a very like, oh, more of the lads are off to war. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I guess as well, if they get captured, they have to get a new one made, and he has to touch that and he gets sent to the regiment. It's quite a big deal. So losing your colours was quite a big deal. And the same with the French. They used to have the French eagle, which have a golden eagle on the top, and that was supposed to be touched by the Emperor Napoleon. So they would do anything to protect that.
Interesting.
So very precious of their flags in those days.
And we all know, what was it? No flag,
no country. No country. But when you've got like, and this is the thing that I really like about Napoleonics is Civil War, American Civil War, it's greys versus blues pretty much, unless you get some of the militia. So it can, I won't say bland, it looks pretty when they've got all the flags on them. But when you've got like the British Army, and they're all red and they have different coloured facings. So if you like yellow facings, you have a yellow flag. If you've got green facings, you get a green flag. If you've got black facings, you get a black flag. Blue tend to be like Fusiliers and Royals, and Coldstream Guards, they get like a red flag, weirdly. But what you have is this like plethora of nice uniformed troops, but lots of banners. It looks very, very sexy. Then you get the French army, which has not just French with blue and their banners, but then you have like, I don't know, Bavarians and Württembergers and Swiss, which have red, which look like British, which blows my mind. She's like, but they're in red. When I was a kid, I was like, but they're red.
Right.
But they're Swiss. Then you might have like different French regiments that might still have white instead of blue. So you have a lot more colour. Then you get the cavalry where it just goes mad and everyone just goes to town. So like the British tend to have like more blues for their cavalry, like their dragoons. And then the hussars tend to be everything. The French, I've got a book at home called, it's one of the battles, Jena, I think it is. And there's like one regiment of French hussars, and it's like summer campaign, summer dress, summer parade, spring campaign, spring parade, spring battle dress. So they had like 16 different uniforms depending on what time of year it was and what they were doing. And I was like, no wonder the officers were poor. It's like, okay guys, it's springtime, we're going to war, it's a battle dress, okay. It's slightly different colour mauve than the previous one, but sod it. So
I mean, at least
the fashion sense of the French then was high peak.
Yeah, that sounds pretty extra. Like, at least, you know, Ultramarines, you paint blue.
Yeah.
What is it? Gold shoulder trim, or
First,
like
second company,
green occasionally.
Yeah, fourth company.
Yeah,
I know my company's just
nice.
about.
Those are the only two I know. Gold and green.
White is first.
Oh, then it was veterans.
They're veterans first company, yes.
Because there was one of them in the new trailer, right?
Yes, you get Terminators, Stern Guard, Vanguard. They're one of the first company usually. They have white helmets as well. Then you have second company, which have gold or yellow. Then you have third company, which is red. Fourth, which is green. Black, which is fifth. And then it gets a bit loosey goosey because there's orange, purple, grey.
Oh right.
And then Scouts don't have a colour because they don't have a trim.
Fascinating.
But I can't remember which is. I think grey is 8th, and then purple and orange or magenta tend to be like 6th and 7th, 8th. Oh, there's another colour. I can't remember. Can't remember. There's a few, but I know the Battle Company ones, which are the ones most people tend to collect and paint. But the other ones are reserve companies. So you have reserve assault, reserve tactical, reserve devastator. So if there are losses across the other companies, then they come from there.
Oh yeah, and we had this discussion recently with the White Scars about how the most complicated company markings are like the earlier ones, and then the ones that are easier to do are like your reserves.
I don't know. It was when we picked one. Duncan picked one when he was doing like the White Sky Army, and there was a guy who did a lot of the vignette art, and I guess he was just doing it because it looked cool. But what could have happened in hindsight now when we look back is maybe the easy ones you do for the first 5, because that tends to be the ones that most people
will
do, because they're the battle companies, first company, and then the 4 battle companies, and then the others tend to be reserved. And if you're doing a full chapter, then it gets a bit harder. But it's like you've got quarters or like one little dag coming up, whereas like something like a million, like it looks like chevrons but with lightning chevrons. Chevrons are bad. Lightning chevrons, next level bad. So some hindsight in there. I blame Duncan for that. He's not here, so he can't argue the point. He'll be in the comments going, "No, I didn't." Yeah, you did. Oh, I forgot about this.
Should we talk about this thing?
Yeah,
we got sent with some nice Swedish stamps on.
Oh, they're very nice.
They do look really, really nice. From some art. Oh no, Sweden. My apologies. Sweden. Did I say?
You said
say
Swiss.
Swedish?
I think you said Swiss.
Yeah, I thought I said Swiss as well. So I was in Switzerland last year photographing.
Oh yeah, you were.
I get all of my countries confused. I'm tired. So I thought I'm going to show you this and then collapse into a heap with some paracetamol.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I need another tea soon.
Yeah. So this is from Alex, 52 Miniatures, and he, if I believe this is what it is, is...
You're saying is a lot, so I'm excited by what this is. There's a letter as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Welcome to the Evolution. This is Eve. Artist Juan Gomez Cabrelo. Art direction by 52 Miniatures Alex. Pigment print. Ooh. So I believe this is a limited edition print, because Alex did a video where he painted a female space marine.
Oh.
And because that is seemingly a bit of a hot button topic, he got some comments about it, and instead of saying, okay, I'm not going to talk about female space marines anymore, he's like, I'm going to have one designed and I'm going to sell it. And you can buy this cool print
oh wow
of this female space marine from Alex at 52 Miniatures. So this is what it looks like. So I think we'll get a frame for this and stick it up in the studio. But thank you very much,
beautiful
Alex, for sending it to us.
I always like looking at how people paint as well. I remember when they did an art gallery or exhibition of all the workshop stuff at Nottingham Castle.
Yeah.
And you could see all like the working out, you could see all like the mark making and stuff. You look at it and you go, oh, I understand that, I could do that, but then you can't do that because you've not got the years of experience these guys have got.
Yeah.
Well, this is amazing. So she's got like is that dreads? Looks like dreads.
Yeah, looks
lots
like
of like sort of totems and beads and stuff like that. That's cool.
There's like an art style that they used a lot in Black Panther. Was it Afrofuturism or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like taking like cultural elements of like the continent of Africa as we know it, but being like, what would that look like
sci-fi
and stuff like that.
I like how they did that with to a certain degree, if I remember rightly, like Galactica. They had like different nations that had different styles. I think so. I might get mixed up with some other sci-fi maybe, because I know like the different like Caprica and whatever.
There's more.
Oh, there's more. Oh, this is cool. That's really nicely done.
Yeah.
I need to get back into painting and drawing. Used to do it loads, and then I've not done it for a long time. Thank you very much, Alex, for sending that through. That's very kind. Get that on the wall.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Eve is, of course, not a space marine, as female space marines don't exist. A fact I've been vigorously told. And is, of course, not a space marine because that's someone else's IP.
Yes. She's a space warrior. Actually, Space Marine you can't copyright. So if you said Adeptus Astartes, then yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But Space Marine, you know, you can be whatever you want.
Oh, here we go. So this is a propaganda poster.
Evolution.
For the Evolution.
Oh, cool.
And again, if you're listening to this on Spotify, sorry. And then this is the first ever sketch of Eve.
She looks terrifying. She would like just melt your face with that plasma pistol.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that is. It's like the barrel down of the plasma. It's just going to like melt your face.
Like, I don't think I would care what gender someone was when I was being like plasma to death by them. No. Yeah, absolutely not. I don't think it really matters if you're all in spacesuits with helmets on, shooting lasers at each other. So if you wanted one of these, we'll put the link in the description, but you can go to 52miniatures.com/store. And thanks again, Alex, for
sending that through.
That's very, very
beautiful.
kind.
Like the little propaganda poster.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. Do you want to draw it to an end then, so you can get some paracetamol ran down your throat?
I think I do. Well, my voice broke when I said that. So I was like, I think I do.
Well, we've had a big chat. I mean, before we go, massive congratulations to Sugs. We're going to be watching you with interest, liking all your videos, and hopefully you'd want to come on the channel, because I miss talking to Louise on live, and we did talk before we both parted about doing like some collabs of like streaming and stuff like that. So reintroducing Peachy Luigi creature feature.
Do you think that because you came up with that whilst you were at workshop and used it on workshop, that they like you'd have to rename it?
Well, maybe, I don't know. I don't think they care for it, because they told us to stop doing it because it wasn't IP. Even though we'd get like the chat to come up with 3 animals, and then I combine them into an Age of Sigma, one of the Mortal Realm beasts. So I did sort of try to tie in with Warhammer, but it didn't really matter. I'll wait for a cease and desist. I'll carry on until I'm told to stop. That's for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, I'm like that, but
really don't care, because I'm drawing made up animals from 3 animals that exist. No one can copyright the animals that exist, and the names are make up. So that's not gonna bother me at all. So yes, good luck, Louise. Hope you enjoyed the random chats that me and Pat had today. We'll be back with the next one next week with Jeff involved, of course, because he'll be not at the shop doing haircuts. I'd imagine. And
we have our first returning guest next week.
We do. Oh yes, we do. Should we name?
May as well,
just in case you might not make it.
Oh.
Let's name him anyway.
Yeah.
Bob's back. Bob Navesmith.
Yay.
He's back again. I can't wait. We're going to talk more about Space Marines, and more about, I think this time around, about his 3D projects.
Yes.
Because we touched a bit on that at the end, but not as much, because I want to delve deep into that.
Well, I asked him if he could bring, because he mentioned them. I think he might have mentioned them off camera or on camera. I can't remember, because I haven't watched the chat show in a while. He found some like green stuffed Space Marines in his shed that have never been like molded or anything like that. He's going to bring them. I'm going to look at them. So which is really, really cool. That's like miniature history right there.
Yeah. There'll be some models as well linked to that chat as well, if I remember rightly.
There was some free models linked to the last Bob chat. Apologies.
Cool.
We'll have a lovely chat with Bob again, which will be awesome.
As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you so much to our patrons for supporting us. If you want to be a patron, do check out our Patreon, and you can also have your name going up on the title screen, which is probably happening right now, because I know how Pat edits as I'm talking.
I'm gonna put it over my face. Usually it's kind of like in the last 20-30 seconds.
And then we'll go, oh look, there's Darcy.
Oh yeah. No, wait. I'm gonna time it. She's at the top. Oh well, because I have to time it really well. So it's like if I say there she is, then we have to finish. And then it's game over. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Apologies that I've just been ill and sad. And there's Darcy.
Bye.
Oh, she's gone.